What up, what up, what up, what up, everybody? Top of the morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are from. In today's video, I would like to discuss the new player experience in Diablo 4. A lot of people talk about the new player experience, but all those people aren't playing the campaign and getting the real new player experience. A new player is going to have to play the campaign before they do any of the seasonal content. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the full new player experience from beating the campaign and all the way to getting to the pit. So without further ado, guys, let's get into today's video. First thing would be the campaign experience. So for a new player, you're not going to be able to do any of the seasonal content until you beat the campaign. So you've got to choose your character, whether it's Windshear Druid or Firebolt Sorcerer. Every single class has a good build, including Barbarian, including Necromancer, which everyone probably heard Barbarian and Necro are really good. But anywho, make your class and you start the game. So while you progress through the campaign, you're either going to have a great experience or you're going to have a bad experience. Why I say this is, you're either going to be living that true power fantasy of slapping every single boss, or you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I'm way too strong, there's no challenge, like what is this? So while you are going through and fighting these bosses, you're going to realize, oh, these guys are really squishy, oh, I'm slapping right through them. Which, that could just be me, but my experience is just going a casual build, not looking up anything, just going a regular bash. I had 3 shouts, I had leap, charge, and I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. And I went through the game and casually did this. As you can see right here, I slapped out Erida like it was nothing. I didn't even realize I beat her. She lucky she go invincible.
The stronger prevails. So be it.
What did you give Lilith?
Wait, did I already win?
I told her of the wards around Astaroth's prison. How to break them.
Why?
My people have forgotten what it
Another example would be Astaroth. Usually you're supposed to beat him in one area, get 1/3 of the health bar down, go to the second area, 2/3 of the health bar down, then go to the third area and get 3/3 of the health bar down. Instead, I slapped out his whole health bar, traveled from point A to point B to point C, and then boom, I was done. That simple. One of the best things about this season for new players is going to be the Codex of Power changes. So, the new Codex of Power changes, you can go to your Codex of Power and you can see, oh, I have 8 out of 16, I have 14 out of 16, I have 12 out of 16. So what you're going to be doing is leveling up these until you hit a maximum roll, which would look like this. So 6 out of 6. That's a max roll for that one. So whenever I make this aspect onto a piece of gear, which your piece of gear has to be rare or legendary for you to put the aspect onto it, it will always have this max roll. And how you get this is you'll go to your blacksmith and you'll salvage all your gear or whatever ones you want to get rid of. And then you can see aspect upgraded, aspect upgraded. So 2 of the aspects that I had, or it looks like just one of the aspect I had, was upgraded. And that's all you have to do. And then you can look in your Codex of Power and you can find the one that you just upgraded. And you'll be like, oh, okay, so I got it a little bit leveled up, which is this one. So now I have it at 27% instead of having it, I think I was at 21%. So after you're done beating the campaign, what you should be doing is farming your health tide, doing your seasonal content. That will be probably the most enjoyable thing that you will do thus far in the game. After beating the campaign, you probably want some action, you want a lot of it. Well, that's what the health tide's for. There's a lot of action, a lot of XPness. You can get a bunch of things inside of the health tide, a bunch of elixirs, tons of elixirs. See, I have tons of them. These profane mind cages, you use these to increase the enemy level by 10. So they'll go from 58 all the way up to 68. When you're in the Hell Tide, you're going to be farming a lot of monsters, killing a bunch of monsters. You have a progression bar that's going to slowly go up. After a certain time, it's going to fill up, and once it's filled up, it's going to slowly go down. It's going to spawn a Hellborn. This Hellborn you're going to have to fight, and you're going to get some big loot off of him. You can get these Baneful Hearts. These Baneful Hearts you'll use to summon the Blood Maiden. So I got one off of them right there, and I also got a profane mind cage. These baneful hearts, you're going to look for the boss icon on the map, which was right there. You just saw it. It was a cursed ritual. We're going to go right there because that's exactly where it's at. Here you're going to use your baneful hearts at the cursed altars, and this will summon the cursed ritual. This will spawn your blood maiden after you... Wait, was there just an invincible wall right there? I thought they fixed that glitch. Blizzard, what are you doing? Another new thing that players are going to like is this change right here. The tempering of your aspects, which they have to be just like the other aspects. They have to be rare or legendary items to put the aspects on. For this, when you add your affixes, they have to be rare or legendary. And this is like putting on stats. New players may like the two new additions to the game, or they may hate them, which are masterworking and tempering. Tempering is going to be your early game upgrades, and also you're going to be doing this throughout the game. In the beginning of the game, you get normal armor, and then when you hit World Tier 3, you start getting Sacred Armor. Both of these can only get one affix. Ancestral Gear, when you hit World Tier 4, can get 2 affixes. Players are going to be able to pick a piece of gear and put stats onto this gear. So they don't get to exactly choose, but they get categories where they can pick from. And out of these categories, they're going to have an RNG roll to see whether they get the stat that they would like or get it not what they like. Most of the time, you might not get what you want. Sometimes you'll get exactly what you want. So that's where you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, because you're going to have a piece of gear that's really good, which they also added things called greater affixes. So you can see this pair of gloves, they have 2 greater affixes. So you can get 2 greater affixes, and you have a really rare piece of gear, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, this is the piece of gear that I want. This could be really good. And then all of a sudden you go to temper that piece of gear, and it's really bad. So then it just ruins that piece of gear. So now the rarity of that gear and the power of that gear just diminished, because it could only get better. Next thing I'd like to talk about is Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons are accessible in World Tiers 3 and 4. Aside from Hell Tides, Nightmare Dungeons are some of the best experience you can get in Diablo 4. Not only that, Nightmare Dungeons also have the benefit of upgrading glyphs. Glyphs are special abilities you can add to your Paragon board to enhance your character's build, whether it's damage, defenses, or cool effects like Fortify. So regardless if you are a new player or a recurring player, you are now met with a variety this season that's both beneficial to you and beneficial to your mental state. The next thing I would like to talk about is the bossing. New players are going to be met with multiple different kind of bosses, which feels good for knowing that the game is going to be ongoing and there's going to be more bosses in the future. This season is a perfect experience for new players to jump on in, fight bosses, do Helltide, etc. The Helltide is absolutely perfect for this season because a lot of people have actually been playing this season. So your open world and player experience will be elevated since you're playing with actual people in the overworld instead of doing these events and summoning the Blood Maiden and no one being around. You have quite a few different bosses to choose from. So you have the latest addition to the game, which is Endariel. Endariel, you have to beat the Beast Within Ice, which you have to make a Glacier Fissure dungeon, I'm pretty sure. And then also, you have to beat Lord Zir, which Lord Zir can be found in the Darkened Way. As far as bosses go and new player experience goes, there's quite a few options for them to choose through and farm from. Although they do not have too many bosses inside the game, some of them for the main fights are actually well made. Maybe not the ones inside of the Nightmare Dungeons, those are a joke, but the bosses that they actually made, if you were level and you're not overpowered, they should feel like pretty good boss fights. Nice mechanics, etc. My very last topic will be the pit and masterworking. So the pit you have to do for you to be able to masterwork. Masterwork is the new form of armor upgrade this season, but new players will not know that it's a new mechanic. New players will either love this or they'll hate it. They'll think, oh, I have to wait till the end of the game to upgrade my gear, this is kind of ass. Or they'll think, oh, not only did I just temper my gear with 2 stats that is RNG based but could be of my choosing, I can upgrade it even further. And keep this in mind, when you're upgrading a piece of armor, jewelry, or weapon, every 4th, every 8th, and every 12th, you're going to have a 25% boost to one of your affixes. Which, if it's the stat you want, this could be massive. If it's the stat that you don't per se want, this could kind of ruin your weapon. So that's where it's a love-hate relationship where, okay, I really like the RNG base, or this is way too much, I'm always getting screwed over, I can never get what I want. It could go one or 2 ways, or it could go both ways, depending on how the day goes. New players and recurring players aren't too fond of the masterworking aspect being something that you have to do late game. But they do make up for this big no-no with a big yes, which is tempering. Tempering, you are able to put certain augments onto your weapons or jewelry or armor, and you get certain stats. So I have already augments on these pieces of gear. So you can see I have thorns. You can see I have fire resistance. You can see I have damage to close enemies, shadow resistance. So you're going to have certain stats that you can put on certain pieces of gear. So say if I go to this two-handed weapon, which I'm pretty sure is the only one that I don't have a augment on. So I'll go to this. You can see I can pick from the offensive or the weapons. I'm personally going to go for damage because I want flat damage with my weapon. So we'll see if we actually get lucky. Damage to distance, that is actually horrible. We don't want that. We don't want that. Please don't do that. Don't do that. No. Come on. Oh, no. Please. Not in front of the 3 times in a row. How? So it can go one of 2 ways. You could get exactly what you want with RNG, or you could get completely fucked like I did because I didn't get what I wanted. I wanted close enemies or just flat damage. I did not get any of that. So it's basically RNG. So you don't know if you're going to get exactly what you want. So it's kind of that excitement that makes it more worth it. So you have a piece of gear. And if you look at that piece of gear and you're like, oh my gosh, it has strength, it has damage, it has overpower damage. That is like the perfect piece of gear. And then you get crowd control to enemies. You're just sitting there, you're like, oh my gosh, that just ruined my piece of gear. Or you could sit there and you could look at another weapon and that's like, oh, that's got strength damage, critical strike damage. Oh, and it's got dust devil damage? That's bussin'. You could have a situation like that, or you could get completely screwed and it pisses you off. So there's this aspect that makes it, when you get a good piece of gear, you are really happy about it. But when you get a nice piece of gear and you mess it up, oh, you're so angry about it. So it's just how you like that kind of gameplay. But the masterworking kind of is, it's just a little rough that you have to do it at the end of the game. I don't mind it, because it does make it something that you have to farm later, so you really can juice up your gear with tempering. And right now you'll only be able to put 1 tempering on your gear with regular gear. And then if you look at my other gear, so say I have this sacred legendary gloves, well, see how that says legendary ring? So this is something from regular base game. Sacreds will only spawn in world tier 3, or if you're doing the capstone dungeon, you'll get it from that. Or maybe if you're doing Lilith at the end of the game, you'll probably get it from that. But as far as that, you shouldn't be getting sacreds. Ancestrals, you'll get it in the world tier 4 capstone dungeon, or you'll get it in world tier 4. So for ancestrals, that is when you'll be able to put 2 onto 1 piece of gear. Before that, you'll only be able to put 1 onto a single piece of gear. That's when masterworking comes into effect. When you're able to get ancestrals and put on 2 slices of pie on a piece of gear, then you can masterwork an item. And that is it for the video. That is my take on the new player experience. Would a new player actually enjoy this season? would they enjoy D4 in this current state? I believe they will. Yes, there is some glitches that are being dealt with, like this wall bug or not being able to walk around or just randomly stopping, but would this interfere with the playing? Maybe, if you're really nitpicky, or maybe you just don't like how a game's been out for so long and it's still got bugs. I believe every game's got bugs, every game's got its quirks and ninks. So if you liked the video, please leave a like. I really do appreciate that, guys. If you have any comments, put that in the comments section below. I'll be reading every single one of your comments, good or bad. And that's it, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Top of the morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are from. And boys, we will be back in the next video. Deuce, deuce. Peace.